Okay, all right, everybody. We got an interesting little podcast, I guess, of sorts that we're going to be doing today. We're going to be discussing PA's new direction that they're looking to get into, how that is going to impact PvP, how we want to hopefully make some suggestions for PA for Maehwa class in general, and just go over that kind of stuff. But before we get into it, do some introductions here. Kara, you want to start off?
Yeah, of course. So for me, like, my name is Akari Sayo. I've been playing BDO since pretty much it came out in NA. My first class for me was a ranger, but as soon as Maehwa came out, I've been just pretty much playing that with other classes for the fun of it, like here and there. And I am also the rank one Maehwa in AOS in NA.
Ooh, cool. Very
All
nice. Thank
right.
you. Thank you. Neptunes?
Uh, my name is Neptunes. I started just like Akari around. Well, I didn't start that early on, but I started around 2019. Played a ranger at the start. I kind of liked Awakening, but then I gravitated towards Maehwa a lot more. So, when Succession came out, I pretty much played that all the way up to today. So, yeah.
Nice, nice. Thank you, thank you. And my name is Nayashi. For those of you that don't know, I've been a Maehwa player since, oh god, since the game basically came out. It's the only class I ever played. Been sticking to this class through thick and thin, all the good and bad. But played Awakening and Succession for many years. And yeah, just content creator like our other two guests here today. So yeah, no,
I think
just
I
looking to
think
get
you're like
into
the
it.
only. I think you're like the only oldest Maehwa that
The
exists
the
today.
OG, the OG.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
think
Yeah,
Nayashi
you
so.
is the
guys.
OG OG.
Because
Yeah,
I don't think Cena
fucking.
and all of them play anymore.
No, I don't think so. You're right. Yeah,
And
I haven't talked with them in a hot minute, so I don't think they really play anymore.
I probably already like said this to you, Nayashe, but like when I went to learn Suckmail, it was like your videos that I started watching, like at the very beginning.
That's a
Sweet.
fact.
Well, I mean, hey, that's what that content's for, to just help players out, at least get their bearings, and then, develop your skill set from there, like you have, and both of you have.
Yeah.
So, that's what it's all about, man. But yeah, I mean, let's dive right in. I'll go ahead and kind of go over what PA decided to do a couple weeks back and throw the world into chaos. So, PA basically decided that they wanted to change things up based on player feedback for PvP. I think this was originally kind of prompted based on PvE as well as PvP. But to really kind of get into the thick of it here, the purpose of the balance patch for Global Labs was to increase the grinding stability of classes with poor defense checks and to solve phenomenon of dying too easily and dying quickly in large-scale battles. So basically, as mentioned, they try to correct some issues with PvE, but also PvP-related stuff. They know and understand that some of the ideas that they have are going to impact PvP in both a positive and negative way, whether it be large scale, 1v1, small scale, even AOS. So they heard some of our feedback where basically there was player outrage over the original direction that they planned on doing. And they've since decided to take a different approach and get player feedback on 3 different approaches. There's been a number of different feedback from players such as Devios, Frosty, Choice, all the streamers basically at this point. Blue Squadron, a lot of different content creators. But yeah, there's these are the methods that they are interested in getting feedback on, and we'll go ahead and discuss those and how that impacts our class moving forward. So, first method was they wanted to introduce increased survivability by basically tightening up the gaps in between protections. Basically, overall, making more classes fully protected, either in SA or forward guards, maybe a combination of those. But this would ultimately impact PvP and large scale where players would be able to be more protected, and it's more about chip damage kind of meta. So your gear would play a more crucial role. Obviously, in capped PvP scenarios, gear would be capped out, but ultimately just staying fully protected and being able to play your class and not be CC'd on the ground all the time. This, however, would severely impact 1v1s and small scale, even AOS, where basically whatever classes have the best SA trading potential would be dominant in this kind of meta, unfortunately. Or if you have grabs, you would be dominant in this kind of meta because that would be the only way you could actually truly CC people. So that is option 1 in a nutshell. Option 2, they wanted to reduce the overall number of super armors and increase the forward guards. This would change the way survivability is, sometimes making it better, sometimes making it worse. But this would also make it better in most cases from a grinding point of view, because generally in a high DP or high end grind spot, there's going to be a lot of damage that's heading your way. Super armors won't necessarily help you in some of those cases if your DP is really low, but forward guards could. So that would be a potential way to help out with the grind situation, but also making things a little bit easier PvP wise for a number of different classes in terms of being able to CC players. Survivability would overall change, as mentioned, because you'd have more forward guards, more openings versus super armors, where the gaps would be closed off. This would make it so that classes without grabs would have opportunities to still continue to CC players and not be reliant on a mechanic such as grab. So that would make things, I guess, in that regard, a little bit fairer across the board. So grabs would still be a thing, but players with fast mobility or skill expression, I guess, could make use of their abilities to CC players behind their guards. So that's option 2 in a nutshell. And option 3, this would be to add grabs to all classes and get rid of this argument and about grabs, and then incorporate their original suggestion, which was make SAs and close off the gaps completely for all classes. They, however, acknowledge that some classes would be really strong with this, that have really strong mobility, such as, in their examples, Musa and Maehwa. There's definitely some others that they should have incorporated in those examples, but whatever. But yeah, so that would be option 3 in a nutshell. Give everyone a grab, close off the protection so that PvE and large scale are more fun, I guess, is kind of the idea and scope of that one. But 1v1 wouldn't be completely dead and one-sided, I guess is their idea with that one. So yeah, initial feedback, Akari, on what your thoughts are on these?
With the first one, it was just like the first option that basically they wanted to go with. It's just, it wouldn't have been good at all because all the classes that are going for catches, like us Maehwas, for example, it would just like not be good for us at all because we're so much like oriented on catching people that we wouldn't do anything. And our super armors, like it takes a little bit of a long time to be able to even like put the damage in. Even as Awakening or Succession, like Succession has a blooming that has 16 seconds cooldown, and for Awakening we can say like that the highest damage would be Petal Bloom, but you gotta fully charge it to do that. So now like our damage is just like really hard to even put in. Though for the second option, I found it really more interesting because we're actually gonna be able to go to CC people and like play with for our catches, for what our kit was made for. Though as I remember, they wanted to not remove, but like slightly lower the damage overall on every class in PvP with the second option. And I don't remember if it was like for sure, but they said that they wanted to also work so there's no like back attacks with it too. So that's what as I remember when I was reading it.
They say, I mean, the note translation here is still a little weird, but it says by removing the back guard, you can provide opportunities for everyone in PvP. Blah, blah, blah. I think they were mostly just referring to foreguard, but yeah, it could be a translation issue. I don't know for sure, but
yeah. Though if they removing a little bit of damage, as long as they don't remove like the back attacks and anything like that, then I think we're gonna be really like well situated in overall like the meta itself. And for the third option, I found it kind of interesting because when they said they're gonna add grabs to all the classes, I was like, oh my god, wait, Maehwa's gonna have a grab, Moose is gonna have a grab, and all this other classes they just usually never have it, right? And then they said, but since Musa and Maehwa are considered the fastest classes, that's where I was like, wait, wait, pause. I don't think we're the fastest classes. We used to be in
At
like
all.
2019. I will agree with you on that one. But like, it's like they were looking in the past, right? So it's like, don't you have like Awakened Drak, Awakened Novas, and all this like other classes that are just suck zerkers that just run out with no stam usage and just can grab people instantly, are really fast and all. Like I was like, wait, I understand that like you think Maehwa's Musa are fast, but why is it just us that they wanted to remove the movement, you know? I was like, you gotta look at all the other classes. Maybe they just didn't want to mention it, and then they would have gonna nerf those classes too. But the fact that they only mentioned Musa and Maehwa, I was like, okay, that's that's a little bit overboard.
Agreed. All right. Neptunes. Let's get your initial feedback.
So when I heard the first option, I didn't really look too far into it. I thought the first option was technically similar to the patch that we got where they were taking away like stuns and shit from Kuno and ninjas and making Zerks like super protected. But I'm pretty sure somebody told me that was option 3 or that was the route of option 3. I don't know, but I always hated option 1 because I thought that was the patch notes that were going to happen that Armin covered. When I saw option 2, I was like, okay, well, this seems a lot more healthier for the game, and it seems like it opens up more of like a field of play where everybody can play whatever class they want without feeling like, oh, I need to play this class because it trades better, or I need to play this class because it has a grab. You know, one of the biggest things I disliked was, you know, the patches that would come up over the years where strikers, whenever they missed their grab, they would automatically get an iframe instead of having that small gap. You know, well, you know, some say that there's still a gap between the grab, but you know, it still goes from a grab to iframe nowadays. And closing a lot of gaps nowadays, it kind of feels kind of shitty for my class. So seeing that they want to implement more forward guards feels a lot healthier, and I feel like, you know, especially with the added feature that they're talking about, reducing PvP damage overall, so, you know, going from a meta where people like, even if you have the same gear, everybody could basically just play the role and people don't have to one skill people. Like if two 730s were fighting each other, one 730 gear score player would outperform the other one based off of the class that they play and how fucking hard they got buffed. So, you know, it's I feel like it'll work out personally, and I feel like especially for my class, it'll be pretty nice to see people, I guess, you know, just have a lot more openings like Mystic, Striker, Hash. You know, I don't have to sit there and wait, snooze fest. Same thing for Warriors. You know, having openings for guards on that class, it just seems so cool to like, you know, see everybody outplay. I feel like, you know, montages and shit would be a lot cooler to watch than montages nowadays where people just trade each other and just, you know, there's a lot more flavor to it. So I don't know. Option number 2 seems out there. Option number 3,
Yeah.
personally, I don't really want to grab. I've been telling people this even back in like 2019, 2020. Having a grab isn't really the answer to a Maehwa. I feel like the answer is having more open gaps between classes so I can use my classes kit and do things. But outside of that, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to option 2.
All right. Cool. I did kind of sprinkle a little bit of my opinions in when I was reading it off, but I'll go over my opinions a little bit more. So yeah, in terms of, you know, option 1, um, it's gonna ultimately make things a lot more difficult across the board. It being basically everyone's fully protected, no gaps really to speak of. There's going to be classes that are just going to do so much better with that kind of meta. Classes that already have inherently strong defensive checks, you know, like either a combination of super armors and iframes or just high burst damage while being protected, they're going to just perform so much better, and that's just not going to be healthy for the game. It's, in my opinion, it's just going to be players are just going to gravitate to the meta classes like they already do, but it's going to be even more focused on a certain subset of classes than what it already is. So I definitely don't see option one as being healthy for the game. It is from the large scale point of view, I guess, but for the rest of the game, which you have 1v1s that happen all the time in PvE for grind spots or Arsha or just, small scale
AOS.
GVG, AOS, like that part of the game is essentially dead. You basically cannot fight some classes ever because you just auto lose unless they're just absolute dog water. So yeah, option one is not healthy for the game in my opinion, at all. It just throws everything else out the window and only considers large scale basically.
Yeah.
Option two, I think is, like, to both your points, going to be probably the more stable of the three options, mostly because of the simple fact that it brings back skill expression, I think, to some extent. Maybe not, like the old days, 2016 or whatever, but it definitely would bring back some skill expression. People can't just rely on gear bullying people all the time.
Right.
You actually have to stay protected. This obviously would have some implications as far as large scale is concerned, because in large scale it's usually pretty chaotic. People are gonna, you can't just dive into the middle of a ball anymore if you have like half your kit as four guards instead of super armors, because you're just gonna get caught out in the back and die, which I think kind of makes more sense. I mean, too many times, like, you see like crazy plays where people are just diving in, like an awakened drag, just diving into the middle of a ball, just doing their large AoE damage skills, and then healing up back up to 60%. It's just like, what is going on? What is this game? It just doesn't make any sense anymore. But they just reward plays by just throwing yourself in there rather than just actually playing intelligently, in my opinion. So whether or not that's going to be like the best potential route to go for this game moving forward, I don't know. I think it just is healthier than at least option 1 and 3, in my opinion. Then option 3, like you said, Neptunes, I don't personally care for a grab. I mean, we saw what happened when we had Blooming, basically mana draining everybody. People complained about that. It was fun. I can't take away the good times, that's for sure. Poor Ronald. He's still got PTSD after that.
And
but yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with that. I mean, that obviously that was a little crazy. So yeah, I don't think grabs are necessarily the right approach. Because you imagine trying to fight a Sork that has a grab or a DK.
Yeah.
That's already a weird thought in and of itself. Like, I don't know. There's too many classes are too fast and
are not made to have a grab.
Are just not made to have a grab. I mean, in general, the classes are just being sped up and are crazy fast nowadays, anyways, already. And some of them have grabs, some don't. But yeah, I just think that's just gonna, like, everyone's just gonna be playing super passive and super safe until they have their grab cooldown up, and that just looks boring.
Yeah.
We used to have that. I don't know if you remember, but before, like, the reworks that most classes had, a lot of classes would just linger super armors and then go for grabs. Like, for example, like Awakening
Lon.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. But so moving on to the next part, like, basically PA has heard the initial feedback from players, and they've kind of are leaning towards option number 2. And that means that there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see more forward guards coming into the game, and reduced amount of super armors. So that is, like I said before, I don't know if that's necessarily the best solution for the game, but it is the healthier of the 3 options available to us. So that sounds pretty enticing. At least from Maehwa's point of view, I think. So
Oh
maybe
yeah,
not every
yeah,
class.
we're used to it. Like here's
Yeah, I mean, we're only playing this game.
yeah, like people don't understand. A lot of people feel scared, and I think people should be scared because people just they start playing classes. They feel like it's a lot easier to just rotate through super armors, grab somebody, do a combo, call them shit. But for us,
Spam
especially if
your
you played Maehwa,
macros.
yeah, like if you played Maehwa back in the day and you know how Maehwa was pre rework, like literally we had nothing, and the performing on a Maehwa with nothing more unprotections, literally basically we had to just rely on our combo. Nowadays we could throw a couple of trades out with some super armors, but I'm already too used to being unprotected and catching people with super protected. So seeing how everybody's going to be a lot more
On the
open.
same playing field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I feel like my performance is gonna go up like stocks. So
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean that's pretty it's pretty interesting news. And so with that, I mean, I kind of wanted to hear some feedback from you guys on giving PA some potential suggestions. I mean, they say they listen to the players, right? So I wanted to kind of get ahead of them doing changes and kind of get some opinions from us three, as well as like obviously I've taken some feedback from other players as well, and kind of trying to consolidate some of that information into being like something that's realistic, practical, that could be potential changes for Maehwa if they were to choose option two. So with that in mind, I kind of wanted to break up those potential changes into a few different categories. So like protections, with protections adding, lingers being a part of the discussion because lingers are important for neutral game.
yeah,
CCs, um, stamina combos, those kind of categories is basically kind of what I'm gonna, kind of steer the direction of the potential changes for. But so yeah, I mean, Akari, if you have any ideas, suggestions, like what kind of things would you foresee for like the protection changes? Obviously, we have a lot of protections in say Succession. So let's start off with Succession, and then we'll move to Awakening.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, for me overall, I was actually thinking about this like last night. If they even like remove some of our super armors, right? Because a lot of people will kind of agree that now like Mewa is like a lot way more protected than it used to be. Like even Red
yeah,
Moon is way faster. We have Blooming that is fully protected. A grapple arrow that they changed from like foreguard to super armor, and like some other skills also like cover, for example, as well too. Uh,
yeah.
I
Is
was
it fair
speak.
to say? Is it fair to say that Suckmewa kind of is in a way on the already like in the option one mode, so to speak, like how it's
Uh,
currently designed?
I would say that they have a decent amount of super armor, but they don't reach the option one because as a Sakmeo, as like what we were saying earlier, you still need to go for like catches a lot of time. And a lot of our catches, other than like Red Moon, Carver, and Grapple Arrow, are just unprotected. Like we would say like forward blind throws, the way we do a lot of times to go behind people to CC them, that it's unprotected. Of course, we have our bow shots. It's from far away. That's unprotected.
Yeah,
Dragon Bite. It's like a little bit iffy sometimes. And Stigma. It's nice that the dash backwards is a super armor, but when you hit, it's instantly unprotected. So you just get CC'd in the same time that you're trying to do your CC. So it's really iffy all the time using like those like CCs left and right. But which for me, when I was thinking for changes, I was thinking of like removing some super armors, making them foreguard, and also some like unprotected skills to make them like maybe foreguard, maybe super armors. Like the main thing that I was thinking last night, I was thinking, what if we change it so now Red Moon, even in level 1 and level 3, is foreguard? It's always foreguard because the
hmm
only protection that we have right now, like to protect from damage, is our Corolla, Razorblade Corolla, to like really like tank some damage and not like really be attacked on our HP. which
Agreed.
can kind of really, it's annoying because we're not really able to put on our full potential damage. So making it so we can move around, do a red moon to be protected and do also in the same time damage, that would be way better. While also for the other skills I was thinking, for example, make stigma dash, well, the dash backwards is super armor, afterwards it could also be a forward guard or also a super armor like instantly, because I find it a little bit stupid that when you do the hit attack of Stigma, you're instantly unprotected. Why just make the super armor for the dash and then unprotected? Because
Yeah.
it will fuck you up a little bit. Like that was like the two main things I was thinking. I don't think making blooming foreguard would be bad, but then it would just be too many foreguards. But if they're trying to make every class be, let's say, like 70% foreguards and like 20% super armors and 10 unprotected, then of course you can make red moon and blooming foreguard. But there would be a lot. There'll be a lot
Yeah.
to like change.
So, with your idea about the Red Moon, because I was thinking the same thing with Red Moon potentially being like a forward guard swap out option, but consider the linger. Like currently, right, Red Moon, Divider, um, maybe even arguably Grapple Arrow, Landing could be considered like lingers that we typically use for super armor, right, on
Yeah.
Succession. Um, with Red Moon being swapped to a forward guard, how would that impact that skill as far as like having it as a linger? Is that something that you thought about as being a potential problem, or does that seem fine?
Well, honestly, because as we know, for example, Red Moon, you can just stay like as a linger, like at the very end. Even if, let's say, you're still in foreguard at the very end while you're lingering it, while you're not really putting any damage in. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's affecting a lot. So it just makes you just block a little bit more, but that's about it. I don't think it would be a problem necessarily to do that. If they change it to make it so it doesn't linger the foreguard, so it's just like you do the hit foreguard and then you gotta move away. They could also make it so you need to like move out more and like you can just regen your stam more easily. It would be good because it would just makes it so it shows like the skills and you don't just stay in lingers nonstop with your class.
Okay. Okay. Um, Neptunes.
Personally, I feel the same exact way that Akari is stating. Like, I do feel like having four guards on the abilities. I think you said the same thing yesterday as well. Like having the same four guards as you guys stated, the Red Moon or the Blooming. Like I actually wouldn't mind it. But if they do Blooming four guard, I personally think Blooming, I mean, you already heard it from me. I think Blooming should get a lower cooldown. 50 seconds is a little wild. So even if it's on a four guard, they need to deduct our Blooming cooldown to like 12 or 10 seconds because Petal Bloom is on a lower cooldown. And, I feel like in the meta that we're at, like it's like, yeah, it's going to be good to catch people, but in a series where if they do make a four guard on Blooming, you get multiple catches and you can't do anything because Blooming is like your main skill. So you're just sitting there, kind of like looking for a way to engage, but there is no engages. 15 seconds is just too long. So yeah, like I'm cool with the Blooming, but if they're not going to touch the cooldown, then I would just keep it a super armor to be honest. But everything else, I do agree with.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, as far as protections are concerned, from like my point of view, I could foresee like Red Moon losing its SA in Red Blade State and being a forward guard instead.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Bloom. I could see that being a potential option. That would also increase our ability to trade, or at least minimize the damage we would take in a meta where more classes end up with forward guards too. Because you got to consider that as well. It's not just us that would be impacted. Defensively, we would need our own forward guards to trade against their forward guards, so that we're just not taking damage and constantly losing the trade battle.
Yep.
So that's something that has to be considered. I really don't like the idea of potentially like changing Carver back to a forward guard or Grapple Arrow. Movement
Yeah.
type skills with forward guards are awful, so I would really hate to see that happen to those skills.
Yeah.
So I would really prefer that not to happen on those. To your point, Akari, with the stigma gap, originally stigma and awakening prior to succession being released, it was an SA movement, and then the stab would be a forward guard. I don't know if they would consider doing that. Obviously, that would be in the direction of a buff rather than some sort of lateral change. But then again, at the same time, losing super armors and gaining forward guards is, in terms, a nerf or buff depending on the situation, I guess. I guess from the point of PvE, it would be a buff. In some PvP situations, it could be considered a buff. In others, it could be considered a nerf because now your back's exposed. So it's really hard to determine how like developers would weigh those as far as like how the protections are. But those two, Red Moon, Blooming, I could really foresee swapping out to forward guards. That would also open up, our backs to being peelable if we're dive bombing, like say a group in AOS, one person's out, they could peel us then rather than us being fully protected. I know people have complained about us being fully protected since all the changes that we got a year ago.
Yeah.
But maybe make things a little bit fairer there, but also giving us the trade potential that would offer. Other protections, I guess. Yeah, I mean, as far as succession is concerned, I guess that's pretty much it for protections. That my thoughts. Let's get into, I guess, CCs. I mean, would you see any CC changes? Any of you, as far as suck is concerned,
I
or do you feel
doubt
pretty comfortable?
they're gonna change too much RCC potential. Cause honestly,
Some classes they did in that
yeah.
initial, so that's why I was kind of thinking about bringing it up if you see any potential.
Because I was like, when I saw, for example, the Dragon Bite that they removed, I thought they would remove also
The
Dragon
Prime,
Bite, Prime, the CC itself.
that'd be horrible if
So,
they did that.
so when I saw that, I was like, there's no way you're gonna change one of our like protected CCs and like to make it just a poke that does basically no damage at all.
Nothing, yeah.
And
It would be pretty weird.
it wouldn't even be considered a movement at that point. So if they would even remove that, it would just be awful, honestly.
Yeah, you might as well just lock the skill at that point.
Yeah. I don't even think removing Red Moon, Carver, Blind Slash versus Unprotected, I don't think that should be removed at all because that's literally just used for CCs. Blind Slash.
Yeah.
Other skills that we use for
Grapple arrow.
CCs. Grapple arrow, maybe that one.
Very cool ability.
I think it wouldn't be like, it would be nice for a lot of people that would be gonna be really happier if we don't get the knockback, and we could use it mostly as a movement. It would be kind of unfortunate if they remove that as a CC, but I could see it happen that they remove the knockback on grapple arrow. I could see that for sure.
I'd be mad as hell, dude.
It's a pretty good. It's pretty good skill.
Yeah, I really like it. Like it's probably one of my favorite catch abilities, especially like if somebody's blocking, you kind of just like, yeah. The little knockback on it is just, it's so nice because like even when I fought a couple people, just like them blocking and I just like shoot to the side and angle it back in and then push them back, it feels so like high end.
If they really decide to, like, let's say remove the knockback on grapple arrow, I think it should just make it so we get stamina while we use grapple arrow. For example, the same as that skill that
Fire
Musa
Angel.
has. Yeah,
Well,
Fire Angel. Like the same exact thing.
Now I wouldn't have a Musa on, but correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember if any of you have ever touched Musa, but does Fire Angel actually just do a stamina stop rather than a stamina cost?
It stops your yeah, no, it's just stops your stamina while you're.
As I remember, it recovers it. I'm not too sure though.
Is it Awakening that it recovers and Succession that it stops it?
Yeah.
Success. Yeah, I play Suck. Yeah, Suck. It stops it.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Awakening,
That's
it regions the stamina.
Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, I would like to agree with what you said, Akari. Like, I would, and you Neptunes as well. I would really prefer that they didn't take it away. I really like using grapple arrow knockback. However, if it did have its CC taken away, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I would just be sad. I'd be a
Yeah.
sad little
one thing I
panda.
will say though, if they do take that away, I think I know an ability that they should give us instead, which I think it makes sense. And yeah,
Retaliation.
yes, dude. I
Yeah.
would love to get what those suck mooses got, bro. Because that CC is probably their strongest CC out of all the CCs that they have. Like that shit
Yeah.
is it feels nice. But beggars can't be
Yeah.
choosers.
I mean, what that would do is that would give us a 4 guard knockdown rather than just the kick. So that would
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that'd be pretty good, and that could also open up potential with combos as far as reset combo potential, right?
Yep.
So hypothetically, that wouldn't be a bad trade then, right?
Yeah.
No, for sure. If they remove Graparov and they give retaliation, they do like a KD, even a float or a bound wouldn't be bad either.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just an idea for PA. Not obviously that we necessarily would prefer that,
Yeah.
but if they have to go a direction like that, then so be it. But this would be like a nice little lateral move that CC over there kind of thing. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Moving on from there. I guess combo wise, how do you feel combo wise since they've been doing all the changes on Suck? Obviously, divider change with the SA or the one SA linger that it provides. It's 13 hits that it recently got buffed to, and the fact that it doesn't cost stamina anymore and allows you to actually regen during the usage of it. How do you feel about that change? Like combo wise, this feels better stamina
To be
wise now.
honest, it feels really smooth. I'm actually surprised. I've been really enjoying Divider a lot more in PvP and PvE settings. Like, I think that the Divider change kind of opened up like the comfortability of Suck Maehwa, right? Because Suck Maehwa was one of those classes where you just lay back and you kind of grind. You just make chill money. So knowing that Divider packs a punch on top of it doesn't drain your fucking stamina. So going pack to pack is a lot smoother now. In a PvP setting, it does deal a lot of damage, and I feel like it's a good filler for CCs, and it does do some damage. I have been testing in cap settings and uncapped settings. It packs a punch. So I'm happy they doubled it since the last one because 7 hits. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
7 hits is not doing shit.
felt like half a second that shit was done.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
was,
13 hits feels a lot better.
the thing with the 7 hits that I found it like really like unfortunate they did that was because people that were like, let's say, grinding omens, right? Which you focus a lot on the back attacks and you're done, you want to do like your full damage. Using Divider was like our main damage for those classes. For those mobs basically. And then when they made it so you only have 7 hits, I was like, okay, well, now we lost our main damage on those mobs. And then when they changed it back to 13 hits, I was like, okay, now we have back the damage that we had before. So now we're good.
Nice. Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely feels like the damage is really good, like mentioned by both of you with Divider, and the fact that you can use it as a SA linger is really, really nice, especially because you can slow tap it and basically make that thing last the full duration of the cooldown almost.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you really needed an SA linger for whatever reason, it's an option for sure. So yeah, no, I really like this change with Divider. It's really good change. So
yeah,
okay.
100%.
How are we feeling on stamina these days?
Oh, personally, I feel like our stamina did really go up. I'm having less stamina issues. Maybe that's because of all the changes that they made, reducing the stamina costs on Whirlwind, Debite, and all these other abilities. On top of Divider not really costing any stamina. So even when we use that as a filler, that can also impact a lot of things. So I personally feel like, overall the stamina on the class is really smooth. They did do a lot when it came to that. So even in PvP, I find myself complaining a lot less about my stamina, just a lot more about my cooldowns. So just looking back in 2021 to 2023, seeing how far I've grown from complaining about stamina and how I can't do this to now complaining about CDs and like, okay, how is it still not off cooldown? You know, because everything
Yeah.
is becoming a lot faster paced. So, you
Yeah.
know, that's pretty much my take on it.
Okay. Yeah, and we will get into cooldowns next. So yeah, for sure. We
Okay, can you
definitely.
message your boy?
What's up?
Can you message your boy? He keeps coming in and out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Um. Yeah. So no, I agree with you. Like stamina lately has been feeling a lot better. They have been doing incremental changes. The divider change I think is significant, especially for our filler damage, like you mentioned. I don't feel like as much anymore. I haven't really felt like I complained about not having stamina in my combo lately.
Right.
Which was one of the biggest gripes that we had. Like by the time I finally land that damn CC on somebody, I go to Carver and I can't because I'm gassed. Like
Yeah,
or
exactly.
blind thrust or blind slash or blind thrust. Like I just got no stamina. Like yeah,
Even the kick himself.
or
With
even
the
the kick. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean like all our combo options basically being gated by stamina, and our stamina is just constantly at fucking E. I will say I noticed like in AOS, um, you definitely still can't play a very aggressive style for very long because you're just gonna gas yourself out. Um, so you definitely have to play more reactive, play off of your team CCs or peel. Um, I feel is like at least the more comfortable approach as far as stamina is concerned. Not necessarily the better approach, but as far as stamina management is concerned, that's going to be the better approach.
Yeah.
So I still feel like there might be some potential improvement for stamina management. Some potential options that come to mind is like our CC our basically our float CCs like Carver maybe. It is a movement skill, so I understand why it has a stamina cost. So, but hypothetically, maybe taking the stamina off that would be helpful. That way, like, there's basically no issues with comboing and whatnot during our, um, uh, stamina management. So, alternatively, I've heard options like whirlwind cuts, maybe not continuing to get a reduction and/or not costing stamina. Um, that not necessarily something that I'm personally on board with because I kind of get why it costs stamina, but that would be pretty nice to not have that being a burden on our stamina management. Also because whirlwind cut can be used as a linger,
Yeah.
As
but
I remember, also whirlwind cut, it used to make us also like recover stamina at the very beginning, but then they changed to like it uses stamina and
it
now it's just
stops.
yeah, now
Yeah,
it just stops. Also for Carver, if they like it would be nice if they change it so it doesn't consume stamina, but in the same time, I don't think you should recover stamina with it. I think you should just
that's
make it
fair.
stop. I think that stamina should just be stopped while you're doing Carver, not recover, because then we would have too many skills that recover our stam.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That would be a fair compromise for sure. Um, and that's mostly just again to make sure that stamina is not a problem with comboing, but more or less a problem being focused on when it comes to positioning. Because nothing feels worse than being unable to combo because you just had no stamina. But
Yeah. Because
um, no, go ahead,
uh,
go ahead.
I was thinking about also whirlwind cut. Like you can also, for example, make this comparison with the skill that Awaken Musa has, where they do like their slash on the left or on the right, the same like ALMB or DLMB, but
Is that crosscut or
yeah, I don't remember the name itself. I just know that the key inputs is like ALMB and DLMB, but when they do it, they recover stam full on.
yeah,
So they use that to recover stam, and but for us, when we use whirlwind cut, we just have it stationary.
yeah,
So
I agree.
it's just like basically making it so each class has like both bladers are like in the same spot overall, like damage wise, movement wise. I think that would be really good.
And to play devil's advocate a little bit, do you feel that divider kind of fills that role now?
I think Divider really helped out. The only thing that I wouldn't say that it really affects it too much is the fact that Divide is just full on stationary, right? Well,
Yeah,
it's not
that's
like a
true.
movement skill or anything like that. But the other
Yeah,
classes, like Musa has a movement skill that regens them, right? So that's
yeah.
a different story.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Next topic would be cancels. I mean, how are we feeling about the cancels? I mean, do you see opportunities where an improvement can be made on cancels, or
Oh yeah. Let me start this one off. I like that. Yeah, that fucking Chef Def skill PA. I'm gonna need you to do something with that motherfucker right there, cause
Corolla?
Yeah, Corolla,
yeah,
Razor Blade.
You
that
getting
shit,
Corolla?
dude, that shit right there. Like, I can't. Like, I sometimes it's just like, dude, can we just like, if we like dash, kind of like how we like, when you blooming standing still, it's kind of a long animation. It's like I framed a super armor, and then if you dash forward, it's just straight the blooming
Yeah.
ability. It should be something where we get the last attack on dash or some shit, because like there's a lot of times where the ability does do damage, believe it or not. Like if you're hitting your target, it does do damage, but to speed up the ability, especially with the cooldown getting reduced, like I don't know. In PvE scenarios, it doesn't fucking matter. But in a PvP scenario, I would like to add that on top of my combo list, but it's too
Yeah.
fucking slow to add. I would rather Divider. Real shit.
Yeah.
So to before we jumped in your comments, Akari. So they did in Global Labs this week put in that change where they sped up some skill animations like pedal swirl and Corolla when we forward chase or back chase. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to test that because of how Global Labs is with magnet skills. I have a character that transferred a while ago, so for some reason I can't get the magnet skill. But I guess if you transfer a new account over to Global Labs, you can
Mm.
get the magnet skill. But supposedly that was sped up. But no, I get what you mean for sure. Like it's not. It's definitely a skill that's definitely in the filler category rather than something you can just like immediately start using and really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get that. It definitely feels a little sluggish to use. So yeah, no, I get that. Um, okay, cool. Kari?
That's also the one thing that I wanted to like mention that they did like make it so you can get like instantly the second hit if you chase backwards, which was like a good help. But I also think like they should make it that Razor Blade you can use it after blooming, for example, because let's say for example you do your blooming and then it instantly does like the two last hits of Razorblade Colora if you do after blooming. I think that would be something that would help out a lot for damage and more protections where we can actually protect
Rating.
ourselves from the damage. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting because so when you're not in Red Blade, you're doing normal blooming and go straight into Corolla. It's actually sped up that way. So and it's really smooth actually. It's really quick and smooth. So yeah, seeing that maybe that kind of same um, animation acceleration between those skills, the skill linking, um, be done for Red Blade state blooming into Corolla would be nice too. No, I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, as far as cancels from my point of view, um, one thing that's always bugged me is that when you um, do Red Moon, it's basically
Ah.
a giant fucking uh, red ball for a class to come up and grab you. We have the
Yeah.
ability to cancel Red Blade, Red Moon in certain situations at the very beginning of the animation and at the very end of the animation with Stigma, but you can't cancel in the middle of it. I would really like them to allow Stigma to cancel the middle of it, but also, if possible, prayer to Jay, allow Whirlwind Cut to actually cancel out of Red Moon as well.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
yeah. But wasn't that a change from the old Red Moon? Whenever you use it, you can just go straight into Whirlwind.
Uh,
Or am
I
I
don't think
tripping?
s- I know Sleet Step for Awakening, but I don't think it's Stigma that's the only one for Suck if
Oh,
I
okay, okay, yeah. Never mind,
remember
you're right.
correctly. But But yeah, Red Blade, Red Moon, not being able to cancel the middle of it, like being able to cancel any time in the animation with Stigma, or hypothetically add in Whirlwind Cut, please, BA. That I think would be really nice, and then help out, maybe comboing a little bit as well. Like hypothetically, say you Red Moon, they get floated, you immediately go into Whirlwind Cut to cancel the animation and go start comboing. Like that would be really smooth looking. It'd also be really nice to be able to bait out a grab kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, to add to that, this kind of goes back to the protections, looping back. So this is like a two-parter thing. With the combination of if they hypothetically add Whirlwind Cut as a cancel, change it so that the first hit is not super armor but iframe instead. What do you guys think about that?
Ooh, yeah. No, actually, that's actually kind of fire.
It would be really good if like people come in to grab our Red Moon, because the moment we go in Whirlwind, now they're like trying to grab someone that is in iframe. There would be
Yeah,
pretty like a good as a change,
Because
because it creates more opportunities for us.
I
yeah.
I will say, we already try to do that. So having that as like a normal thing, because in AOS there was a Maehwa, he kind of outplayed me with it back when the season 3, back when the little fucking thingy, the little meta drain shit.
Yeah.
I ran into this other male, I forgot his name, but me and him knew damn well, like, we were the only classes there that were affected by it. So whenever I would pressure him and try to go for a blooming, he would like step back, and then like he would kind of bait me by using the bloom, like the iframe into the
Oh
super
yeah,
armor
yeah,
bloom.
yeah,
So he
yeah.
would weave mine, and then he would use his on me, and it was similar to, like, what you said about the grab. Like, he would use the long animation of blooming to dodge whatever, and then so I thought that that was pretty neat, but it was just hard to do.
Yeah. No, definitely. That window on the blooming, the startup animation, if you raw cast it, you'll do that iframe. Yeah, that's a very
Yeah,
small window. So yeah, being able to get that to dodge a blooming, that's actually pretty good.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, that was just an idea I've been thinking of for a while with the Whirlwind Cut, like the first hit being iframe instead of super armor. Um, and allowing it to cancel Red Moon, I think would be pretty cool outplay potential to deal with the grabs. And then, if they don't want to do that, then make it so that Char's evasive shot maybe works as a cancel out of Red Blade, Red Moon instead. That would be another potential option. Um, so that would be interesting
Wait,
as
say that one
well.
again.
Char's evasive shot um,
Oh,
out of
out
Red
of Red
Moon,
Moon.
cancel out of Red Moon.
Yeah,
I think that'd be an
that'll be funny.
interesting option. So that would be another alternative approach to that, one that's already built in, but they just need to add a cancel for. But yeah, no, those are just a couple ideas I had for that as far as cancels. But everything else suck wise, I think I'm pretty comfortable with. Cancel wise, I think is fine. With you mentioned the Razor Blade Corolla skill earlier, Neptunes. I don't know if you really utilize it. For a while, I didn't realize it did this, but you can actually whirlwind cut out of it to cancel it at any point in the animation.
Really, I didn't know that. I actually didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So if you could razor blade and whirlwind out to cancel the foreguard, so that's pretty nice. I didn't know
Yeah,
that for
that's
a
good.
while, so that's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, no, that's pretty much it as far as cancels are concerned. Um, I think that pretty much covers at least the broad scope of things as far as succession is concerned. Do you guys feel comfortable with that, or is there anything else you want to bring up?
I think that's we said a lot of good shit. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, don't think anything else. Like, I'm not thinking anything like it could be making a good change.
Okay, okay. All right, well, let's get into the stepchild awakening. All three of us barely play lately.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so let's go into Awakening. This kid, it's a love-hate relationship with this kid, I feel. But um, yeah, same kind of concept. We'll go through the same kind of list. Protections, lingers, CCs, combos, stamina lingers, and um, cancels and whatnot. But um Or did you want to start off, or do you want me to start off? I don't recall how much you guys personally have played into Awakening, so
Well, I actually I can start.
sure, go for it.
So for Awakening, I actually been trying it in on my alt on T1s, T2s because in T1s, T2s overall, the Awakening May was way better than Succession because of the damage that it does. Like for example, as an Awakening, I could easily kill someone in T1s, T2s while in suck as a Suck Maehwa, I do my full combo, and even if it's a let's say Suck Ranger, they're still up and living with 40% HP. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it out. But that's so many issues with Awakened Maehwa. Because most of your combos, when you're trying to do it, you're like trying to KD people while just unprotected. For example, if I would go on the skills, it
Crossfire is one of our
um
main
yeah,
80s.
SE, which is Frostfire exactly. Like I would try to do a KD and then I'm instantly CC'd. Uh, and if you really want to be able to have two, let's say, like good CC, protected CC, you would go for Moonrise, where you can just go in, do Moonrise for a CC, and then you would have Red Moon again. But then you would lose, like, let's say, Petal Drill or Frost Pillar Core as a core, like CC. So overall potential for an Awakened Maehwa CC wise, you're just obligated to go in that long animation of unprotection to re-CC someone. So it's really annoying in a large scale for like the class itself. And even most of the time when you do a combo, you also want to integrate Petal Soul as well to like get yourself a little bit of accuracy if you don't have enough, or to put a debuff on the enemies. Now you're even more unprotected again. So like the only protected CCs, let's say I use core Petal Drill, I could just go in with Petal Drill, do a Red Moon to re-CC them, and then I go for like the other like small damage. But you gotta be so close of your enemies with like a foreguard that anyone could just go behind you and CC you. So it's so lackluster in the CCs itself. I feel like it's really good on the slows though, for sure. Like the movement speed slows, the attack speed slows. Those they're really good for that. But if you wanna go do nice CCs, you're always gonna need to go in unprotected, which is
Yeah.
kind of unlucky.
Okay. So in terms of like their direction, option number two, um, with the understanding of what you mentioned, with like there's a lot of unprotected CC options, like with at least ideal CCs, I guess is the better way
Yeah.
to put it, right? Um, more there's likelihood of less super armors and more forward guards. What could you potentially see, protection wise changing?
I
Um,
would I would totally see Frostflower becoming a foreguard. That is
okay.
for sure one skill I would love to see as a forward guard. For Petal Soul, I think it's fine as it is right now because you can just use in worst case the core if you really want to be super armor. But the one skill that is like really good as a CC would be Frostfire. If you make that forward guard, it would help out the class tremendously. Um, whilst for the other skills, that would see that they could make more forward guards. It's I honestly like there's not too many itself because the class itself already has a lot of foreguards. So adding more to it is just like making the
Yeah.
class 80% foreguard and 10% super armor. Like it would be not that great for the class because
Yeah.
now
But with
go
with
for it.
that with that, let's go actually quickly over the amount of skills that are forward guard in the Awakening kit. So you have Red Moon, Frost Flower, or Frost Pillar, Tip of the Iceberg, Ice Fang, um, Razorblade Corolla, which is a Magnus skill. Carver forward guard was removed. Let me see. Is there anything else? Is that pretty much it?
Pretty
So it's about
Dragon Bite,
what?
I would say, but that's
Oh,
it.
Dragon Bite. What they? Oh yeah, they didn't remove the CC yet. They were planning on that
Yeah,
originally.
they're
They didn't
planning
do
on
it yet.
that.
So we'll leave Dragon Bite in there. So that's because it's still forward guard in the end.
Yeah.
So what's that? 6 skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
6
have
skills.
backstep slash as well, which also is a
Oh,
decent
yeah,
slow.
7, yep. And the Rabam skill,
Yeah, that
either Blooming
makes
Stride or Blooming Step, that's 8.
yeah.
Yeah,
In the
there's quite
beginning
a
also of the decapitating cyclone too, that's also a small foreguard.
true. Technically 9, although I never rely on that foreguard. That
Yeah,
foreguard's garbage.
it's so bad.
Yeah, but I mean, there is quite a few, as you mentioned. To your point, there is quite a few foreguards already built into the Awakening kit, so it's hard to imagine like any significant changes in how the protections are on Awakening. Um, that's not to say they wouldn't do anything, but it is hard to imagine which ones they would potentially change if they did. Um, Neptunes, any ideas or feedback?
To be honest, I don't play enough Awakened Maehwa to even give any feedback.
That's
All I
fair.
can
That's fair.
do, all I can do and say is, Petal Bloom hits hard as fuck. I don't know which one hits harder between Petal Bloom and Blooming, but the cooldown difference is definitely there. So if they can look at Petal Bloom and judge that damage to Blooming and see if they can make a CD change, that's pretty much the only thing I know, or even care about on Awakening. Outside of that, I heard a lot of people talk about Sleet Step, giving Sleet Step my iframe, but that's been the argument for years. So
Oh
I don't know.
yes. Ever since the ever since Awakening came out, and they took it away on that first rework patch. Yep, we've been wanting that iframe back for years. It used to be iframe originally, actually, but
I think
yeah, no, that's
even if
fair.
it's not iframe for sleep step, just make it always super armor would be the best like
Yeah,
step
I
if you
agree.
go for it, because a lot of times as an awakening Maehwa, you're gonna use your sleep step and
The
then
buff and get the attack speed.
well, yeah, you use that for the buff for the attack speed, and then let's say you do a stigma afterwards, you're able to CC, and now you want to go for Petal Bloom, but when you do Petal Bloom, the only movement that you have is Sleep Step with it. So now
Yep.
you're unprotected. You're
Yeah.
unprotected when you're trying to do that movement. So it's like, okay, well now I'm kind of screwed because I'm gonna get CC'd. So I think
Yep.
making it possible so it's like fully super armor will help
I mean,
out way
it
more.
already has a stamina cost. It's basically like Chase at this point.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have an iframe. It used to be iframe when it was basically just like Chase. Iframe when it was off cooldown. And I think if I recall, it was super armor when it was on cooldown.
Yeah. It
Or
used to be like that. Yep.
yeah, so it was just like Chase originally, but then they removed that a long time ago with the rework and just made it so it was super armor off cooldown only. That was a God, I don't know what 2017, something like that. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a minute since we've been wanting that iframe back. But yeah, I mean, as far as protections, awakening, I definitely see your point there, Neptunes, with the Frostflower. Um, I see that being a forward guard, being very useful. Um, that does kind of like they have this arbitrary rule that they have where they say like, you know, you can only have like 3 or so protected, CC abilities. So I'm not sure how that really plays into it because I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
pedal
it
drill core, and then you have um,
Red
Red
Moon.
Moon, and then grapple arrow, technically, um, D-bite, but those. I feel like they were moving all the CCs off of pre-awakening kit and moving them to the awakening kits when they did
Well,
that preliminary patch a while
the
back.
thing is like I when I see like as the CCs are protected, right? And it's in the grapple arrow and also dragon bite, but those like don't really knock or bound or float people. I think you should be able to have two CCs or maybe three that are protected to float KD or bounce someone. That's why I was thinking that it would be really good to have Frostflower do that, like as
Yeah,
well as a forward guard. Because either way, most of the time when you're comboing, like your biggest combo damage for an Awakened Maehwa, you're gonna see someone let's say with Pedal Drill, then you're gonna try to do a Pedal Swirl, Frostflower into Frost Pillars, and then Pedal Bloom, which the mid part of it, you're just unprotected for so long. It's
Yeah.
way too long unprotected, which is why I was thinking that making Frostflower fully 4-guard would be extremely good for the class. There was also one other thing that I was thinking about. So while watching and even trying Waken Maehwa also in AOS, for example, the only time she's gonna be able to put in her full damage the same way as Sakumewa is when she is E-buffed. I'm not saying overall that like the skills don't do a lot of damage or anything like that. It's just that it takes so long for the biggest damage skills to go in and do damage when you're not E-buffed that it really like fucks Awaken Maehwa up. Because yes, Petal Bloom does a lot of damage and has a 13-second cooldown, but when you do it, you need to like fully
Full
charge it.
charge. Yeah.
And
So
by
you're
the
you're
time you
referencing
full-
the full charge.
yeah, by the time you full charge it, you're already like the guy or is out or you're getting damaged so much. Like there's a lot of times that I would,
Yeah.
let's say even in a full ball, do my Petal Bloom while not being E-buffed, and it just does the full charge, and by the time I'm just fully charged, I'm just pretty much dead. Like it's so bad because there's so many hit starters too with it. And
Yeah.
it really does fuck you up. So I honestly think for Petal Bloom, they should just remove the charge overall. Like, even if you're E-buffed or not, just not have the charge effect of Petal Bloom. Because there's so many classes nowadays that go in, pump in full-on damage, then get out. Then why are you still keeping Petal Bloom fully charged? Like, do you gotta charge it to do the damage? Or be E-buffed? If you're not E-buffed, now you're just screwed over. I don't want to, like, play Awaken Maehwa and always depend on an E-buff to do my full
You're a
damage.
3-minute class basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's not fun to play.
Oh, I get that. I understand. Yeah, the full charge is, even though they have sped it up over the years, it's not like it's Sork, Grim Reaper charge, right? Like
Yeah.
that shit's hella fast. That's was that like half a second and that's gone. They're already full charged and launching it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're able to use like their shards to instantly like make
iframe to the side and
yeah, they can just instantly like do the charge, like use the shards and make it instantly go off, which Maehwa just doesn't have that possibility. You always need to charge it fully.
Yeah. I know Warriors Reckless Blow kind of acts the same way too, because they have to charge theirs up if they want to have max out damage. That's a 4-guard. It's a little bit different, but it does do a KD, which ours does not have a natural CC unless you do the core. So, yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. Having it sped up, I mean, would be nice, rather than needing to always rely on the 3-minute cooldown. Maybe even just speeding it up to the same speed that Sork's Grim Reaper charges would be really nice.
Well,
And,
overall, Grim Reaper without like using the 10 shards would be the same casting speed as Petal Bloom. But when you use a charge,
Yeah.
it makes it instant basically. That's
Yeah.
why it's like way faster. So if we even change to make
No,
it
we're
the same
we're not even
way,
necessarily talking about the charge animation. We're talking about the
Yeah.
animation time itself.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. I guess yeah, I mean the other protection piece to talk about would be like the sleet step like you guys already mentioned. I agree that I don't think it makes any sense that it's not at least the off cooldown iframe and then it remains super armor on cooldown like it used to be. Like I really don't understand why PA is afraid to give that back to Maehwa. It's not a broken mechanic. A lot of classes have iframes. This would allow that, if we do Red Moon and Awakening, we could Sleet Step bait out a grab with iframe Sleet Step. Or, do Petal Bloom, bait someone into grabbing it, which they do a lot in Awakening if we're charging at Petal Bloom. They more than likely know that we don't have the KD core on it, so they'll go up to grab it, and instead you can bait them with Sleet Step, iframe. So yeah, it's a little wild that we still don't have iframe on that. It's been years. I don't understand why. And instead they went the direction of giving our Char's evasive shot a 2-second cooldown iframe and made the iframe better, to which I do agree. But it's like, but then it's not accessible from Awakening very well. It's a very convoluted, like, key sequence just to make it happen, and it doesn't happen where you can cancel a lot of abilities. It's only like after the animation, the initial animations of abilities, so it's not like a very good iframe at all. Still, even with the current state of things, like it's good when you're already like in pre-awakening and you're kind of in the neutral, but it's like when you're stuck in the middle of an ability, you can't cancel it with anything. It's awakening kind of lacks that. She just lacks being able to cancel skills mid animation, like you can with Red Moon. That's pretty much like one of the few options you can do that with. I know in Global Labs that they did speed up some linking between like Petal Swirl and Moonrise, so that animation speed up is actually pretty nice. And the animation speed ups for Tip of the Iceberg and Frost Pillar. The Frost Pillar one I didn't really notice as much, but Tip of the Iceberg speed ups are actually pretty nice, with speeding up between allowing you to do Frost Pillar. Like say you do, for example, Stigma into Tip of the Iceberg, but then you can either do Frost Flower, Ice Fang, or second hit of Ice Fang specifically, or what was the third option? Can't remember off the top of my head. There's another option, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But the interesting one was being able to do Stigma into Tip of the Iceberg or whatever into Tip of the Iceberg, and then the Frost Flower. I thought that was interesting because that'd be pretty nice to kind of help, like, kind of make it a little bit easier on the gap with how Frost Flower is unprotected, like you mentioned before.
Yep.
But they implemented it pretty horribly, where it does the full animation of Frost Flower after Tip of the Iceberg instead of just going straight into the second hit, like do a cancel into the second hit.
That is, yeah.
It's garbage. So, like, for example, I actually have a recording of it that would demonstrate this. But basically, if you did hypothetically do Stigma, Tip of the Iceberg, and then try to do Frostflower, you would never follow up with it. You would never be able to follow up. So, I don't know. It's pretty silly, the design for that. I'd really like them to see them do allowing that to cancel into the second hit like they did with Ice Fang. So Tip of the Iceberg, second hit Frostflower, just like how they did with Tip of the Iceberg into second hit of Ice Fang. I think that would be really good, and that'd be the right direction to go with that skill. Let me see if I can find that clip. Yeah, right here, I think. Okay. Let me share my screen so you guys could see.
All right, but
Are you guys able to see?
No.
yeah, that's
No?
sure.
You're not sharing, yeah.
Oh, what? Why didn't it go off? There it goes. Try now.
You're not sharing.
Why isn't it sharing?
I think it's because you need to have access to the channel. Like you can just join yourself.
Oh, is this a
Oh,
rules
I'll go.
thing?
Wait, I'll do it. I didn't. Hold on, I got you.
Okay. Yeah,
All right, try it now.
Try now. There we go.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So this was just a demonstration. Reezy is the Kuno here that was letting me test. But in Global Labs with this change, I'm going to do Stigma into Tip of the Iceberg and try to follow up with Frostfire to see the potential of it actually landing, which I suspected it wouldn't. But this is what it looks like. So see that it does the first hit and the second hit. If it just did the second hit, it would actually be a really useful,
PC.
BC follow up after Tip of the Iceberg. So it's a little weird that they decided on that approach, making it do both the first hit and second hit. So if it did the second hit, it would be perfect. But yeah, so hopefully they change that. Yeah, so that was kind of dragged out protections topic or animation cancel topic, I guess, as well. But as far as lingers are concerned, how do you feel about the lingers in Awakening?
The lingers overall are. I remember one linger that it was kind of unlucky that we didn't have it. I think it was Moonrise. A lot of people were using it to just have like the full essay, but they pretty much removed that linger. But overall, in the other skills, like most of the people, when I see them linger in Awakening, I'm just gonna see them do it with like pedal drill. A lot of times, they're just gonna do pedal drill into like the 3 hits to be able to,
The December, yeah.
yeah, to always just slow people down the most they can. But
Yeah.
if not, overall, I haven't seen Awakened Maehwas do too many lingers. The other one that you would have would be Frost Pillars with Tip of the Iceberg. It's not like a bad overall linger as well, but people could just go in CCU really fast with it.
Yeah. When you had, if you picked the Moonrise core, I know in the past people would use Moonrise as a linger because that would
Yeah,
actually last pretty long. Like
yeah.
our Succession Red Moon, it would last about the same duration. That was not bad to use, but yeah.
They removed it though. You don't have that linger anymore.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's been a minute since I've tested that then. Um, yeah, so Pedal Drill December is pretty much probably the most reliable linger that we have. I mean, there's foreguard lingers you can utilize, but those are, as far as Super Armor is concerned, that's probably the best options.
Yep.
I don't see Awakening really having too many problems though when it comes to needing lingers and protections too much. It was mostly just like you said, the frost flower thing. And same kind of thing like iframe not being able to cancel out of some abilities. It's just a little weird with like Sleet Step. So, all right.
Because one thing that I was also thinking about this, because originally with the changes that they wanted to do that everyone started to complain about, you remember that they changed a lot Awakening Maehwa as well. And they made it so you have Pedal Swirl that's always SA and the core would be a knockback.
Yeah,
They changed that Frostflower would be also fully SA, but you have
lost
your
the KD.
yeah, you lose your KD. So I was thinking, because this is just like me thinking like logically, if they make a lot of classes just be more foreguards or have more foreguards, let's say like they make it so some unprotected skills also become foreguards. Do you think, like, because I know I'm always coming back to Frostfire, but do you think they're gonna make it foreguard and remove their KD since they did that in the past while making it super armor?
Which foreguard?
Well, let's say they give foreguard to Frostflower, but they would remove the KD. I honestly think they would probably do that if they wanted to make it super armor in the first place. It's probably just gonna change while with making it foreguard, but no more KD.
I mean, that's a potential. The problem is like then Awakening just becomes a float class, and if
Yep.
they allow resistances to stay in the game, then stacking float resist like completely counters Maehwa. I mean, that happens with some other classes already, probably, but like getting rid of a KD really hurts a class. Like, I mean, from Succession's point of view, not having a like if you didn't have that kick, some of our combos just wouldn't feel good, right? Because you'd just be like only floating, and you really wouldn't have much time to have them on the ground to deal a lot of your damage output that you typically would need. So I would really hope they wouldn't get rid of our KD, but yeah, there's a potential if they gave it a foreguard that they might. So yeah. I feel like that would kind of defeat the purpose of Frostflower, though. I know it's intended as a AP buffer for PvE, but as far as PvP is concerned, like that would really hurt.
Yeah.
It wouldn't feel as good to use it in a combo then because like it's a two part thing. The main reason why you use it is for the CC, but the fact that it gives an AP buff is it's nice and it flows in with our combo from there because then we just do most of our back end damage after they're KD'd. So
But the
then you're
thing
buffed up.
is, even if it does give you AP in capped, it just doesn't matter because that AP
Oh
is already
yeah,
capped.
in capture, it's useless.
So
So
if they do remove the KD, now the skill itself is just useless. You're gonna need to lock it at
Yeah,
that
maybe,
point.
maybe.
But no, I
Um,
don't think they should remove CC.
yeah. Okay, fair enough. Did you have any comments on anything on this, as far as like lingers or what we just discussed, Neptunes?
No, I think you guys are like on top of that shit. Honestly.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, so yeah, that kind of dove a little bit into our CC topic, a little bit as far as Awakening is concerned. So, hopefully they keep the Frostflower KD in. As far as like the CCs that are available for Awakening, I think it's overall fine as it currently is. You kind of agree with that assessment, Akari, or is there any comment on that?
Is overall fine like being unprotected?
As far as the CCs that we have available.
Oh yeah. The CCs available, yes, I agree with that. I think this is how it should be for the CCs overall, yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, we did kind of talk about combos a little bit earlier. As far as Awakening is concerned, it's mostly kind of centered around the Frost filler or the Frost Flower topic. So, um, otherwise, if they got rid of the KD, I mean, we'd just be a float class at that point. It would just feel really bad for Awakening.
Yep.
A class that's primarily melee. You're up in everyone's face all the time when it comes to trying to do damage. So you have to play passive most of the time because we're usually not very tanky unless you're like end game geared with going evasion.
Yeah.
So you have to play very reactionary or passive. Playing aggressive with AP or glass cannon build is probably gonna lead to you getting out traded in the current meta, unfortunately, versus most classes. So
Yeah, exactly. I do feel that. And even me being DR right now, like, I have to just learn that I can't, like with evasion, you can kind of just throw yourself at people. But, as a DR player now, I kind of feel that, okay, I'm getting out traded. I have to play reactionary as fuck. So
yeah,
I'm slowly like learning the play style between DR and evasion. But, I do like the damage in DR. I do like the pressure, but outside of
yeah,
that, evasion is better in game, but to get there is fucking unbearable. So
the crypt
The,
grind.
there's also another thing that like I realized with the changes if they do everything forward guard, because when you're evasion, right, when you attack a forward guard, you can also miss on the forward guard. So
Yeah, that's true.
the
Yep.
more evasion people will get, the more
Stronger forward cards are.
yeah, exactly. So it will be something really to like work around kind of thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. HP and evasion as well as DR impact the forward cards. So yeah, those are all really good stats to help make you as tanky as possible. Plus the fact that unlike super armor where you're just taking the damage directly to your HP pool, forward guards are much quicker on regenerating. So defensively they're better if you're actually not being CC'd. So stamina management on Awakening. I feel like, yeah, I feel like Awakening. So with suck, like for example, we choose when we dive in, dive out, right? Like, so we're playing obviously a more reactionary approach. Typically, we can play aggressive to an extent, but primarily we're kind of playing reactionary. Dive in when we have our cooldowns and our opportunity is presented. Awakening, you pretty much have to create your opportunity because you're melee and all your skills are melee. There's the off chance you land a stub arrow, but let's be realistic. Most of the time, that's probably not going to happen nowadays with how much protections and how fast movement is in the game for most classes. Trying to do an arrow without the
Yep.
proper amount of positioning could get you caught. So Awakening tends to need to, commit, dive in, and then usually getting a bunch of debuffs when attempting to disengage and getting run down. This obviously depends on the gear difference between you and your opponents or what classes you're fighting against, but feel like that puts a lot of pressure on stamina management lately with how the meta is. I don't know how you personally feel about that.
Well, there's one thing that actually just you made me remember. I realized between Suck and Awaken Maehwa, the dash in Succession is way faster than the dash in Awakening.
As far as the forward or the backward dash, because I know the backward
Both.
dash is slower.
Both.
Yeah.
Both forward and backwards. The in Succession, it's way faster. So like every time I would try to do something if I'm playing Awakening, I always needed to change to my main, like the main spec, to be able to dash way faster. Because in Awakening, it's just slower for some reason.
I thought they fixed that. I know that was the case for a while, but I thought they fixed that. Maybe
Nope.
they didn't.
It's still slower, and for Musa, it's just the same. Suck and Awakening, the same overall.
Interesting. Which obviously impacts stamina management because you're
Yeah.
needing to chase more, spending more per movement. So
But with I think Awakening has a lot of stam management, like Ice Fang, Pedal Drill, that like helps you, for example, a lot to move around. You can also
all
do
your
grabber or
entire combo basically costs no stamina nowadays with
exactly.
Awakening. So there is a lot more as far as regenning is concerned, but less overall when it comes to committing and disengaging. I feel potentially right. I know pedal drill, for example, you can use as movement. I've done that before to help manage stamina. Ice Fang is for movement as well. I've done both of those for just helping manage stamina. But you still have to like expend those cooldowns if you're planning on using them for movement just to save your stamina. It seems a little rough. Especially like again mentioning the fact that you have to engage, disengage versus this meta is pretty rough in general.
Yeah. If the thing that would help out was just be able to put in the damage way faster. That would help
Yes.
out a lot for Awakening Mail, because when you go over an Awakening Mail compared to Suck, like Stuck will go in, stay for like let's say 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds, while
Dive in, do
Awakening,
red moon blooming and back off kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Or you can do a whirlwind, do let's say Corolla, and then you dip, right? But then for Awakening, doing in your full damage takes like 6-7 seconds. Like you're in, but you stay there for a little while, you know. So like I think making it so the skills get a little bit sped up would be way better for Awakening overall.
Okay.
To make it equal to Suck.
I guess I would kind of get into an interesting topic that one of my guildies brought up. He personally, and now mind you, like I'm not necessarily agreeing one way or the other on this, but it's just something interesting to bring up. Like Awakening, they've moved around the attack speed buff a few times. It originally was on Royal Rage, which is now Reverse Scale or whatever the hell it's called nowadays. I feel like they've changed that thing multiple times as far as the name is concerned. But then they decided to put it on the new skill, Ice Fang, a long time ago when it was first getting introduced. But then they changed it to where it would swap out with Sleet Step, which Sleet Step was giving a DP buff. But now Ice Fang gives the DP buff, but Sleet Step gives the attack speed buff. Now, from a comboing point of view, that kind of makes sense because typically, you know, the original way we would typically combo would be like, okay, we got a stiff, we'd red moon them to float, we'd Sleet Step to cancel the red moon and go into our combo, right? Instant attack speed bonus from Sleet Step, and then say you have the add-on on red moon, you'd have the attack speed bonus. So 20% attack speed right there.
Ice Fang doesn't give you a DP, by the way, like at all.
Did they remove that?
Yeah. I am checking it right now at this moment. The only thing it does is just the slows.
You know what? I think they took away the DP buff a while ago when they gave it the slows, I think. Okay. It originally did have a DP buff for a little bit, at least. I don't remember when they took that off, but yeah, that was their original as far as the history of like the attack speed movement is concerned. But do you feel like that still makes sense, keeping the attack speed bonus on Sleet Step, or should it be like on a different skill?
I think Sleep Step is the best skill to be there for attack speed, because you can do a lot with it. Just make it fully SA.
Yeah, I think the argument is like the original reason was if they're gonna maintain this situation where there's a cooldown of like 5 seconds or so for protections on Sleet Step, that it felt awful to have to use a protection like that just to get an attack speed bonus.
Yeah.
But if the hope and goal and suggestion is for PA to make it so that Sleet Step, you know, on cooldown is super armor and off cooldown is iframe, then that wouldn't be a problem to just randomly use Sleet Step to get a buff. So that would be fine. Okay, that makes sense.
Awakening needs a lot of little changes, honestly. It would really help out because at this moment, with this meta, you just can't do much.
Yeah, because it's so melee. Like Suck is melee too, right? I'm not saying it's not, but like comparatively, as far as the engagements are concerned, it doesn't feel as melee as Awakening. Is that fair to say?
Well, the thing with Suck that really helps out is the bow shots, honestly.
The bow
Like, the
shots,
bow
yeah.
shots do so much damage, like filler damage. It's someone
And
engages.
Red Moon range too. The
Yeah,
Red Blade
that
Red
too.
Moon.
You
Yeah.
have like those two skills where, let's say someone goes in to like kill you because you're like low HP, you can just back off, do a little bit of like 2 shots while the enemy is like 10%, and now you're killing them while like hiding away.
Yeah. Ooh, here's an idea that just kind of came up off the top of my head, but the other aspect that kind of makes it nice and fluid with positioning for Suck is the freedom of Grapple Arrow. Now we can use Grapple Arrow in a with the Awakening kit, but you have to swap to Pre-Awaken. What if it was changed so that you can just use Grapple Arrow from Awakening?
But the thing is, what would be the key inputs?
Well, it's just like, we have Blue Moon, right? Instead of Red Moon. You can It would just be, oh, I see what you're saying. WE is Ice Fang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why. You would need. I think it would be good if you could just quick slot it. Honestly speaking, like maybe
Yeah.
you could just make it so you can quick slot it, and when you use it, it changes you from Awakening to Succession.
Yeah.
That
I think
would
that
be good.
you mean Awaken and Pre-Awaken. Sorry, just to
Yeah,
clarify
yeah, yeah.
for
Sorry.
people watching.
Yeah. My bad.
Minor thing, but just in case for those that are listening. But yeah, no, that would be fine. I think a quick slot option would actually be fair, and that would be pretty nice for Awakening. I think it would also help out Awakening's stamina management and movement and positioning. I think as well, getting in and out of a fight. I think that would be cool. Because like Blooming Step is kind of that option, but because it's forward guard, it just feels so garbage.
Yep.
So okay, all right, that's a cool idea. Um. Okay. Is there anything else regarding Awaken? I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I didn't really bring up, because I mean, really honestly, the topic is mostly geared towards around the protection decision. But like, how are we feeling damage wise on both Suck and Awakening?
Um,
How are you gonna speak first?
to be honest, damage wise, I would say we're doing good, but the off white version of like the sole fact that the cooldowns are pretty high, I can't really compare it to Awakening because
Yeah,
like we have the catches, yes, and I know Awakening, compared to Awakening has more of the trades than we do. So I feel like until if they do a cooldown reduction to, I mean, they've been doing cooldown reductions. I'm not even complaining about like them not even touching the cooldowns, but it'll be from abilities that like you
might
said
not have as much
are
pressure.
right. So I mean, if we're comparing the two, Awakening has a lot better chance trading than Succession, but
That's
I'm
fair.
not going to dishearten the fact that Succession can trade because we can trade, but it's a very very slow trade compared to Awakening's
Yeah,
output.
that's fair. So I mean, I know your thoughts, grievances are mostly centered around Blooming's cooldown being so long, which I do agree with
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Which
like
which means technically we wouldn't really need to see a damage increase, right? But because we would have a lower cooldown would mean ultimately more pressure.
right,
So,
exactly. It'll be similar to Pedal Bloom because Pedal Bloom's a lower cooldown, which means that that's going to see more pressure. than the blooming in general. Like
Yeah.
you'll see 2 petals before the blooming comes back up. So
Yeah, no, understood. Okay. All right, fair enough. Kari, did you have a take on that?
I mean, I can agree with Neptune's on it, but for Awakening, it's just that you gotta do the full charge. You can't just go
Yeah.
in, do Petal Bloom, and do the same damage as Blooming. You gotta do the full charge. So by the time most of the time, you do it on like a ball or when you have someone CC'd. But indeed, I think the best option overall would be to make, of course, Blooming like, let's say 12, 13 seconds, the same as Petal Bloom, and then make Petal Bloom just instant, like no more charge, just full on damage, no more charge needed. I think that would be overall like the best option to do, because if you put Blooming to be on the same cooldown as Petal Bloom, now I think Succession is gonna be just overall so much better damage wise, because Petal Bloom you gotta charge it. So I think it's better to just not need to charge.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. That's fair. Especially with how quick a lot of classes are these days.
Yep.
Like that charge animation could spell death or like just not landing anything in general.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, we've pretty much gone over like our suggestions and whatnots, our feedback about if they were to choose option 2. Is there any other things you guys wanted to bring up?
um a quick off topic. I feel like try to
They need to
see.
buff Debo drops.
Nah, I'm thinking more like piggybacking off what you said about option 2. I'm really curious to see how the game plays out, and I'm really curious to see classes like Tamer and stuff like falter a little bit more and kind of rely a little bit more on survivability and catches than just playing the super armor game and just grabbing you. But outside of that, I feel like I don't know. I just really hope they don't really fuck up the class. I hope they make good
Yeah.
decisions, because at the end of the day, they only take a little bit off of NA, EU, just in general from, class balancing. But if KR can somewhat agree, if they listen mostly to KR and they can somewhat agree with what we're saying, and people can give, their output and outlook on, Maehwa on that regard, that'll be nice, instead of them just taking it on their own hands and
Yeah.
fixing the class based on what they feel like would be good for the class when they don't play it. So
Nice.
yeah,
Well,
that's
speaking of
pretty much
Debo
it.
belts, let's tap this real
Congrats.
quick. Hold
Oh,
on. Hold on.
what is it, Tet?
No, I gotta go back to try.
Oh.
Because we did our 5th attempt on Tet and it didn't go.
Oh
Let's see if we
no.
get this shit.
Dude, and before the downgrade, please, God,
So
no.
don't be like that. Don't be like that.
Stop.
We need a different stack than this. Hold
I was
on.
about to say 126 for a try.
No, that's my
Damn.
Tet. That's my Tet. Hold on. This is overstacking like crazy. Don't cringe for
I
those
mean, it is
watching.
a Devo, so
Congrats.
Yeah.
congrats
Come
on
on,
try.
baby. Go back to try. Go back to try. Oh, you bitch.
Hey, at
Ah,
least it didn't get a downgrade.
I didn't downgrade though, yeah.
I don't know how y'all do it, bro. Like, I'm just gonna run the fucking double ominous build with the turtle belt and lunar. I'm not touching that shit, bro.
It's brutal, man. It's definitely put me at my wit's end.
Like, do you see yourself stopping at any time?
I
Or are
mean,
you
as long as they
completely
don't ruin the
motivated?
game with, are you talking about the grind?
Well, just like how I quit the double grind. Like, do you see yourself like doing a different build if this doesn't go through after a certain time?
No, I'm gonna give a little bit, like a few more tries. If it doesn't go, I'm just gonna go for money grind and just buy a Tet.
Oh, are you
Like
trying to go like for Ted or
triple,
Pan Debo?
eventually pen, but right now I'm just going for triple Tet set.
Yeah, well,
For for,
Oh,
for
that's what you're doing.
grinding. For grinding,
yeah,
primarily to
because
increase my grind speed and stuff like that in other regions, but
that's pretty much what I'm gonna do overall. Like I'm gonna get a Ted Debo necklace, then I'm gonna go for the bell Ted and earring Ted. And of course, I don't think by the time I'm gonna get a Ted Debo neck, I'm gonna have enough crowns to tap for pen. But as soon as I have crons, I'm instantly gonna tap for pen Debo necklace like all the time. I'm not gonna waste time on that because I already have a Luna right now, so I'm just gonna use that for
Same.
PvP mostly
Yeah, same.
overall. So, but the only time I'm gonna switch is when I'm gonna have the Debo necklace to pen, right? So that's
Yeah.
when I'm gonna like maybe sell my Luna or something
That's
for
the only time you should switch, honestly.
yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. Because overall, in the end, I will want to go for ominous rings because I'm gonna go Debo necklace with belt and earring, and I'm gonna switch from my Tangra's rings to ominous rings to have like a decent amount of accuracy. I'm gonna switch to some evasion, some DR. I'm gonna like a really crazy build while I'm like hybrid, you know. It would be
Yeah.
like 1200 evasion while being 530 DR.
Yeah, with good damage.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right,
Yeah,
cool, cool.
I don't know. Ah, I'm probably gonna save my 300 stack. I already intended for this. I know you're doing like a little AP set, but you also have to, I mean,
I'm just on that grind arc, honestly. I'm literally on grind
yeah,
arc
but
mode.
I know people are going for the 3 set for the Devos. I know there's gonna be a 4 or 5 set that I'm sure is gonna be even better, but like you also have to keep in mind the falling god weapon's gonna come out, right? So like that's a lot of sheet AP in general that you're
Yeah.
pushing. So I'm personally gonna be spending my 300 stack on a Tet falling god weapon. That's what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do. And then I'm gonna just rock like a full accuracy build in the
Yeah.
hopes that I can just shit on any
Melt
evasion
whoever.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know how you're
hearing
getting
that.
1200 evasion, okay? I don't know how you're getting 1200. Are you using like the offhand or something?
Nope, just Kudum.
Okay. Because I'm at 935, so I don't know what like
Oh, I'm
build
gonna
you're running.
have the evasion gloves.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Yeah,
evasion gloves, but DR boots.
Yeah, they'll give
Basically.
you the DR and evasion to be somewhat respectable.
Yep.
okay. I can see myself running that at some point. But how do you
I mean,
push it to 1200 though? Because
It's with all my build that I'm going with.
with the homes, I assume, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Ah,
yeah,
hooms,
with the
the
gem, it's the
crystals,
gems. Yeah.
the
yeah.
what's it called? The bitterness, the harpias, like everything, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fire build.
And I will also go Pen Narc because I'm just that's gonna be probably the new quest that we're gonna get eventually. And I'm just gonna get a Pen Narc for that for like more DR. So with my build, I'll be able to have 311, 313, 434 DP, and have 530 DR. Like that is gonna be immense, like really good.
That's good.
Let me let's do a closeout. So I can end the video.
Yeah.
I'll clip out the part where we're talking about their stuff.
Yeah,
But
no problem.
all right, yeah. But no, that was a good discussion, guys. I think we kind of covered at least, I hope, I think, majority of the points and concerns that we have. I think we were trying to be reasonable with some of our asks as far as like suggestions are concerned, and some of the like quality of life things we've been asking for in general, anyways. I don't feel like we were personally going overboard with some of our asks or anything like that. I think they were pretty reasonable. So appreciate you all taking time,
Yes,
sit
sir.
in on
For sure.
this.
For sure, for sure.
All right.
All right. Thank
Well, on
you
that note,
for having the talk.
yeah, no, on that note, we'll go and end right there.